Good morning, councillors. I would like to introduce ethnic from the research. They're the person who undertake the research and prepare the report for us. So ethnic has got a presentation for us today, so you probably hear me speak often enough. So I'll introduce you and leave you with that.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Mayor, elected members, executives. Thank you very much for having me. You all received, obviously, the report, the annual survey. There have been some slight changes. That's why I thought it best that we come through and present it to you. I'm just going to run through very briefly what the key findings were, touch a little bit on the methodology, and then if there are any specific questions around the methodology, although not necessarily the results. I'm not yet to talk about the results. By all means, now will be an opportunity. Just to run through just very quickly, the methodology, it is a customer satisfaction study and it measures the perception of the residents over the various aspects and services the council provide. The results of the study was feed into the council long-term plan and council staff use it to measure their performance against certain set KPIs and performance levels. The study is conducted using 402 telephone interviews with residents in South Waikato District Council area. These are randomised out of the white pages. We understand that yes, there's obviously different types of methodologies out there. With over 80% of households within New Zealand still having access to telephone and landlines, it's still the easiest to get hold of. Yes, mobiles are slowly starting to take over, but to try and find and define areas where mobile is very difficult. There is postal options as well, which can be quite expensive and time-consuming. Telephone is sort of still at the moment the best method to use. Quotas are applied according to age, gender and ward, and that's just to ensure that we're getting a demographic sample across the district to the certain populations in the areas. The data is then weighted afterwards to account for any discrepancies that we do eventually have, and that's all back to the census 2013 data. Interviews took place between 15th April and 25th May. Overall results then have a margin of error of what is called 4.9% in the non-passing scale, which we still recommend as also with 400 interviews, you've got to be just very careful and cognizant of how you then break it down into, if you want to look at sort of certain demographics by age, by ward, by ethnicity. We still believe that with 400 you've got a robust and margin error still very good. Key findings, where there's a bit small on the screen, I'll just read through it. What was in the report, South Waikato residents are mostly very satisfied with the various services. Infrastructure facilities that are provided and maintained by their district council. At every level, it's 79% of residents are satisfied or very satisfied. So that's on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is poor and 10 is very satisfied. What we're saying is 79% of the residents have scored 27%, which is very satisfied. South Waikato District Council is particularly strong reputation profile. 56% of residents are classified as champions. I'll show you just quickly the chart there on that, which is also very encouraging. Having positive champions, what we're saying is they have a positive emotional connection and recognition of council doing a good job. So they're not sceptical, they don't mistrust. These are the type of guys that you like to have. Yes, there was a slight variation with less positive perceptions between those people 40 and 64. So all I'm doing is just pointing out, yes, we can try and identify who people are. While satisfaction with services and facilities is high, residents are not recognising rates represent value for money, recognising quality of council financial management. This unfortunately is one that I think a lot of councils, both city and district and regional, you're not going to win over your residents that would feel that rates are too high wherever you go. Again, what it is we're just pointing out that it's perception and it's about how you engage with the residents and try and encourage, not encourage them, but show them and improve them the value that they do get out of the rest of them. That's communication. Value for money is high impact on overall perception. So again, what we have is the impact on satisfaction. So what we're trying to define is areas that could be worked on to improve the level of perception and satisfaction. Having reasonable impact on overall perceptions of roads and footpaths in the districts and having low level of satisfaction. Unfortunately, there's adequacy of cycleways on roads, and this provides good opportunity for improvement. So again, just out of the roading network, if there was one area to sort of concentrate on, residents have pointed out that Just under 3/4 of residents heard about Urban Connector. What we did is we just included a section because it's Urban Connector gone through a trial process just to sort of see how that was and how it would be received. So yes, 3/4 of them have heard about it, which is pretty good. Around 10% have used the service, mainly in the urban circuit. Those that haven't used it are really stating that they've got their own vehicle, 66% of those people, which is understandable. Just going through bits of the services provided, just trying to point out areas that could be improved. While not specifically identified as a high priority, there's some evidence that suggests that residents would appreciate the public toilets being upgraded a bit and various recycling centres, which unfortunately was a little bit lower than previous years. So sorry, those were those 6 points. What we have here is just a reputation benchmark, and as we go through, we're doing this for many councils throughout New Zealand, we'll be able to slowly start then benchmarking councils against each other. And what you can see here is on an overall question, we've said that all residents have said 78%, and anything we benchmark against, about 80% would consider being an excellent reputation. So we find this very encouraging. Not many city councils, district councils out there. So if you have to try and delve down into it to try and find areas where there could be weaknesses, is what I'm saying. Sorry, in the area, these little guys here, the 40 to 64-year-old age group, not as satisfied, and maybe you can look at wards and the differentiation between ethnicities. No problems there. Summary of the key performance, those were just overall measures. You can see running down from high to low, just sort of giving an indication of the different wards as well. Overall performance, and then parks and reserves being highest in terms of satisfaction, public facilities. These are then overall perceptions, and each one is supposed to be in a bit more detail as to what makes up the parks and reserves, public facilities, roading and parks and so on. Drivers. This one is then sort of the new type of model that we've designed to be able to try and assist the executive team and managers of the different areas as to where they should focus. What we do is we ask obviously a question on the scale from 1 to 10 of certain elements that make up possibly service and facilities. So that would be water, waste, roading, parks, and those we ask different questions. We can then, using a regression type of model, calculate the impact that those would have on overall satisfaction. So what we're saying is we've broken it up into areas, image and reputation, so that's around trust, the financial management, the loyalty that they have with regard to the council, and the executive leadership. So from that, we've got a satisfaction level 72. We've got services and facilities, which is in the parks and your landfills and areas like that. It's sort of very high satisfaction there, and then value for money. Value for money, which pointed out, is a little bit lower than the others. From that, we then take an overall performance score of 79, and we see what type of impact each of those areas have on the overall. So again, it's the relationship that a score from image and reputation would have on overall performance. So that we could say, if we had to improve our image and reputation, how much of an impact would that have on the overall perceptions that residents have of the council? So from that, we calculated using statistics that yes, most impact is sort of from the image and reputation of the council, service facilities making up 32% there, and then value for money. Again, you can see, so image and reputation, we've got 4 questions in there. So facilities, we've got water management, and water management, we've got 4 or 5 questions. Waste management, a few questions there. Roading. So now from these, using the same model, we can answer, well, how much of an impact each of those have on services and facilities? So where should we be concentrating our efforts? So maybe on waste management, that's having a 30% impact. So if we manage to increase that by 5 points, it would have a 23% impact on increasing that. If we increase this by 2 points, that would have an impact of increasing our overall reputation. One just quick slide just to then sort of highlight again what we're doing here is we're trying to identify those that have a high impact and a low satisfaction. Those are the ones that we've identified to then work on to be able to increase. What you do sometimes have is ones here with a low impact would have a high satisfaction. What you're saying is that residents there feel that the satisfaction levels are adequate in that area. at an adequate level where they don't really, big improvements would have little impact because that's sometimes do have this one area where sort of we get less than 10% impact. It's not that residents don't rate that highly, it's just that they are very satisfied with that area rather concentrating on it. That slide is then obviously repetitive. I'm not going to go through all the slides. You can time go through it. It's really a management type report with the managers in each area to have a look at. But what I'd like to do is then just ask if there's any questions around the methodology. If anybody has that in mind.
I just wondered if you're using telephone landline method, did you call it live as well as during the day?
Yes, what we do is we generally call from about 4:30 in the afternoon through to about 9 in the evening, the weekdays, we call them on the weekends as well. Make sure we're trying to get people out.
So low TSR group is less likely to have a landline, but I was also wondering if you're catching people in at work as well, so
we could have easily actually, twisted it a little bit because one of the phone calls was to me. And did I have anything to do with council? I was very tempted to go through and answer all the questions, which I thought could have, but it may well have skewed just slightly. I think the deputy mayor something was also us, so we actually could have done. We were honest and we did enjoy part of it.
There are two screener questions at the beginning, right at the front.
Yeah.
Do you or anyone in your household work for the council?
Well, they don't pay us very much. Yeah. Somebody else? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I did actually stick my hand up. I was just wanted Anthony to go through the list of questions you actually asked the people that you called to actually get the information from them about the person you were ringing, not so much the council questions, but the actual people you run. So you would ask age, ethnicity, financial status, all that sort of stuff.
Yes. What we've got there is, obviously there's the two screening questions I'm going through quickly. Are you, as anyone in your household, an elected member? Do you or anyone in your household work for the South Waikato? So those screened out immediately. Then we start off with the demographic questions. Which of the following age groups do you belong to? We break those down into those age groups over there. And which of the following ethnic groups do you identify with? What we're trying to do there is ask as many as they do identify with. And then how many years do you live in South Waikato? We've got a question on that. Which kind of locality do you live in? So that we can group those in those areas. And do you or any member of your household pay rates in South Waikato? So again, we can slice and dice information as to whether the rate pays a rental or not.
Yeah.
That also helps with the value question. And then just thinking about the place where you live, is it in the town, is it on the outskirts of town, is it rural? You can then break those into town and rural areas. The questions on the age, ethnicity, and the area, those are then used what we call a quota out. So once we've reached our certain quota, we don't want to interview everybody that is over 65. We pull up those quotas quite quickly. They're quite keen to talk on the phone when we get hold of them. So what we do is, once we've reached that quota, once we've passed that question, thank you very much for your time, and unfortunately, we pulled the quota for that. We could possibly pull you back in here.
So how many, through you, Worship, how many telephone calls did you have to make to get the 402 that were actually interviewed? Because there'd be people that didn't want to respond.
Yeah, generally we aim to try and get a 20% response rate. So I mean, you're starting off with sort of 8,000 numbers in the database. Yes, there's those that refuse, there's those that are disconnected, those that are answer phones. So yeah, you end up making 2,000 to 3,000 phone calls.
Wow. Thank you.
And what happens is it goes into a rotation system, it's a computerized system. So if it's engaged, that numbers then stand down for half an hour, it will then try again in half an hour time. If there's a straight refuse, that's then taken out. I'll lead into sort of in the next section is we'll then be going into a monitor type phase, so we'll be doing this now on an ongoing quarterly basis.
So what happens with that? You don't?
So what happens with that now is we stand down everybody for a 12-month period that they have answered this survey.
Good, thank you for that.
So the person who's answered this specific survey won't be rung again for 12 months period.
Okay.
So any further sort of questions? The important thing I think is you heard it's going to be done quarterly. And so the trends will be the important part. This gives us a baseline. It's different to the previous ones. And as the theme comes through, and the data will be presented in the same sort of form, because if you looked at previous ones and you tried to relate it to the data, it became very difficult. But by doing this, it is interesting, and I think it will be closed for Mr. Hobbs to sort of say something in which some of the other places have got quite excited about 75, so we are reasonably good, aren't we?
Yeah, thank you, Richard. Yes, I think that's what Chris was made earlier on, that our score is good. It has come down 10% on what we did 3 years ago. Having said that, it is a different research base. What I like about this personally is that it is quarterly. We're going to get trends. We can see where the real issues lie, rather than just a 3-year assessment that we then use to determine our level of service and the operation areas we need to focus on. So I think the value out of this for elected members to determine level of service will be huge, and the ability for us at an operation level to drill into the areas that we're perhaps not doing as well as we could be is also equally as significant. So it's to me a fantastic move forward. We're going to engage with a lot more of our community and get their impressions rather than again just a one-off 3-year survey. So I'm quite excited by it. I think it's going to give us some great information.
I'm very excited by it actually, because of the communication with our community. I mean, that's what people say, the perception is that we don't. Whether we do or not, the perception out there is. But having phone calls on a regular basis like this, I'm very happy with this.
Right.
And I think it's an excellent baseline to start with as well.
Somebody like to move the recommendation on page 20. Moved by Councillor Lee, second by Councillor Gash. All those in favour can say aye. Thank you. Are there any members' information requests? Welcome Councillor McGill and Councillor Lucia and Councillor Marchand. Yeah. Are there any members' information requests?
I've got a question on water connections.
Pardon?
I've got a question on water connections. Recently, I walked the Te Waikato walkway, and there is a connection to a new subdivision there. I believe that it supplies water to 2 private properties, and the way water is going, the way we are responsible for the quality of water. What are the responsibilities of council in the case of a connection like that, which is obviously, the water comes from council, but it is obviously not treated. It comes directly from the water supply from the village. And I'm concerned that I knew nothing about this happening, and the requirements on the quality of water and the safety of water are increasing all the time. And I could see a time coming when that particular water supply needs to be treated up to the standard of any other water.
Well, we'll place that as a request, and Mr. Anderson will get back with some formal bits. Are there any other members' information requests? If there are not, I would declare the council public meeting closed, and we will do the public excluded at the end of council meeting, and we will therefore take a short break, and we will move into the audit and risk committee meeting. Thank you.
Testing 1 2. 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 Testing 1 2.